The salvage ship Nightshade drifted silently through the debris field, its sensors prodding the eternal night for anything of value. In the cramped cockpit, Zena Blackwood stretched her aching muscles and squinted at the holographic display. 3 days of searching had yielded nothing but twisted metal and shattered dreams, the usual remnants of humanity's failed attempts to tame the frontier. Final sweep, then we're gone, she muttered to herself, adjusting the ship's trajectory to avoid a massive chunk of hull plating. The debris field was supposed to be rich with pre-war technology, but so far it had proven to be another dead end. Like most tips from drunk spacers in backwater stations, the sensor array chirped, drawing her attention. Something large had registered at the edge of her scan range, its profile unlike the surrounding debris. Zena leaned forward, her fatigue forgotten as she directed more power to the sensors. The reading solidified. A ship, mostly intact, drifting in a stable orbit around a dead moon. Well, what have we here? She guided the Nightshade closer, her experienced eye evaluating the derelict. It was old, far older than the surrounding debris, its design unlike anything she'd encountered in 15 years of salvage work. The hull was seamless, constructed of some dark material it seemed to drink in the starlight. As she maneuvered for a better look, her sensors detected an energy signature, faint but steady. Something aboard was still drawing power after all this time. Zena's heart raced. Powered technology from this era could be worth a fortune to the right buyer. The Nightshade's external lights illuminated the vessel's surface, revealing intricate patterns etched into the hull. They weren't standard warning markers or identification numbers. The designs were flowing, almost organic, reminiscent of ancient cave paintings, but with a precision that spoke of advanced manufacturing. "This isn't colonial tech," she whispered, recording the patterns for later analysis. Not hegemony either. The implications made her palms sweat. If this was first contact era technology, from before humanity's expansion into the stars, it could be worth more than every salvage job she'd ever completed combined. Zena docked with the derelict, the Nightshade's magnetic clamps engaging with a solid thunk that resonated through her ship's frame. She double-checked her suit seals and weapons, standard procedure for any salvage operation, though something about this ship made her especially cautious. The airlock cycled, and she pushed off into the derelict's gravity-dead corridor. Her helmet lights revealed more of the strange patterns, these more elaborate than those on the hull. They seemed to pulse faintly in her light, though she told herself it was just an optical illusion caused by fatigue. The ship's layout defied conventional design logic. Corridors curved when they should have been straight. Junctions appeared at odd angles, and everything was covered in those mesmerizing patterns. Zena's mapping software struggled to create a coherent layout of the vessel. She followed the energy signature deeper into the ship, marking her path with infrared beacons. The reading grew stronger, leading her to what she assumed was the bridge or control center. The chamber was circular, its walls lined with crystalline structures that hummed with residual power. At the center stood a pillar of the same dark material as the hull, its surface covered in more of the flowing patterns. But these were different. They moved, shifting and rearranging themselves as she watched. Zena's suit sensors confirmed she wasn't hallucinating. "Okay, this is new," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. She approached the pillar carefully, her hand hovering over her sidearm. The patterns responded to her presence, flowing faster, converging toward her position. A beam of light suddenly erupted from the pillar, scanning her from head to toe. Zena jumped back, drawing her weapon, but the scan completed before she could react further. The patterns froze, then rearranged themselves into what appeared to be text. Subject: human. Category: inheritor. Protocol: initiated. The words appeared in perfect standard English, though the patterns continued shifting beneath them. Zena lowered her weapon slowly, her mind racing with questions. Inheritor. Protocol. What had she stumbled into? Before she could process the implications, her suit's comm system crackled to life. A signal was breaking through, impossible this deep in the debris field. The voice that came through was distorted but clear enough to send a chill down her spine. Attention, unidentified vessel. This is the Hegemony cruiser Inevitable Dawn. You have entered a restricted zone. Stand down and prepare for boarding. Xena cursed. The Hegemony's arrival could only mean one thing. This ship was more than just valuable salvage. It was something they wanted kept secret. She looked at the pillar, its patterns still shifting, then at her suit's display showing the massive cruiser approaching. Well, she muttered, already calculating escape routes. This job just got a lot more interesting. Xena's mind raced as she assessed her options. The Hegemony cruiser's presence complicated everything. But she hadn't survived this long by panicking. She activated her suit's recording function, capturing as much data as possible from the mysterious pillar. Nightshade, initiate emergency protocol 09. She commanded through her comm. Her ship's eye would begin warming up the engines and calculating multiple escape vectors. She had 3 minutes before the Hegemony would be in range to deploy their boarding shuttles. The pillar's patterns suddenly shifted again, forming new text. Warning, hostile forces detected. Emergency protocols available. A small panel slid open in its base, revealing what appeared to be a data crystal, glowing with the same inner light as the patterns. Xena hesitated for only a moment before grabbing the crystal. The instant her fingers touched it, the ship's dormant systems surged to life. Lights flickered on throughout the chamber, and a low hum resonated through the hull. Attention, salvager. A new voice cut through her comm, different from the Hegemony's. This is Dr. Rhett Terran. I'm broadcasting from a research vessel 2 clicks out. I can help you, but you need to trust me. Trust is expensive, Doctor, Xena replied, already moving toward the exit. And I'm a bit busy at the moment. The crystal you're holding. It's part of something bigger than salvage rights. The Hegemony can't be allowed to get it. I can explain everything, but first, we need to get you out of there. The ship shuddered as the Hegemony cruiser's tractor beam attempted to lock on. Xena braced against a wall, her mind working through scenarios. A researcher who knew about the crystal. This was getting more complicated by the second. Fine, she said, reaching another junction. But this better be good. What's your plan? The ship you're on. It's not dead. That crystal is a key. Interface it with any console, and the ship's defense systems will reactivate. The Hegemony won't expect that. Xena spotted a crystalline formation that looked similar to the ones in the control chamber. With the Hegemony closing in, she had nothing to lose. She pressed the crystal against the formation. The effect was immediate. The patterns on the walls blazed with light, and the ship's artificial gravity engaged with a sudden lurch. Through her suit's sensors, she detected multiple energy signatures coming online throughout the vessel. Hegemony vessel. A new voice boomed through all frequencies, its tone artificial but powerful. You have breached quarantine protocols. Withdraw immediately. The derelict's external defenses activated, releasing a pulse that disrupted the cruiser's tractor beam. Xena used the distraction to sprint back to her ship, the crystal secure in her suit's pocket. Your ship's docking clamps are released, Rhett said. I'm transmitting coordinates. The Hegemony will be busy dealing with the defense systems, but we don't have much time. Xena reached the nightshade and threw herself into the pilot's seat. The derelict's defenses were impressive, but the Hegemony cruiser was already adapting, bringing its main weapons online. She punched in Rhett's coordinates and engaged the engines. The nightshade detached smoothly, its stealth systems activating as they cleared the derelict's hull. Behind them, the ancient ship was now fully awake, its surface crackling with energy as it engaged the Hegemony cruiser. Quite a show, Xena muttered, watching the battle through her rear sensors. Now, Doctor, start talking. What exactly did I steal, and why is the Hegemony so interested? That crystal, Rhett replied, his voice tense, is a key to understanding the greatest mystery in human history. The ship you found isn't just pre-colonial. It's pre-human. The implications hit Zena like a physical blow. Pre-human. The existence of alien civilizations had been theorized but never proven. If Rhett was right, the crystal in her pocket was worth more than money. It was priceless. The hegemony has been searching for ships like this for decades. Rhett continued. They found fragments, pieces of technology they couldn't understand, but never anything intact, and never a control crystal. And you just happened to be in the neighborhood? Zena asked, skepticism clear in her voice. I've been tracking hegemony movements, trying to reach these sites before they do. They don't want to study these artifacts. They want to weaponize them. The crystal you have. It's not just a key. It's part of a warning system, left behind by something far older than humanity. The Nightshade's sensors detected multiple smaller ships launching from the hegemony cruiser. The battle with the derelict had bought them time, but the hunt wasn't over. Whatever it is, Zena said, adjusting their course to avoid detection, it's got a lot of powerful people very interested. Give me one reason why I shouldn't drop this crystal into the nearest star and disappear. Because it's already bonded to you, Rhett replied. The moment you touched it, it recognized you as an inheritor. The patterns you saw, they're part of a language, a message left for whoever found it. And now you're part of that message, whether you like it or not. Zena glanced at the crystal, its glow pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. She'd started this job looking for salvage, but now she was caught up in something far bigger. The crystal felt warm against her suit, almost alive. Your research vessel, she said finally. How well armed is it? Armed enough. And more importantly, it's equipped to analyze the crystal safely. We need to understand what it's trying to tell us before the hegemony finds us. Behind them, the ancient ship's defenses finally succumbed to the cruiser's onslaught. But it had served its purpose. They had a lead, and for now, that would have to be enough. Rhett's research vessel, the Scholar's Gambit, wasn't what Zena had expected. Instead of the typical boxy scientific vessel, it was a sleek ship clearly modified for speed and stealth. As the Nightshade docked, she noted the hidden weapon ports and military-grade shields. Not your average researcher's setup. Welcome aboard, Rhett greeted her in the airlock. He was younger than his voice had suggested, with sharp features and eyes that carried the weight of someone who had seen too much. The lab's this way. We need to analyze the crystal before. The ship's proximity alarms blared. Multiple jump signatures detected, the ship's AI announced. Hegemony patrol ships entering the system. They're spreading out in a search pattern, Zena observed, studying the tactical display. Your ship is hidden as you claimed, Doctor. Hidden enough. But we can't stay here long. Rhett led her through corridors lined with a mixture of scientific equipment and military hardware. The lab is shielded. Whatever the crystal does, they won't detect it. The laboratory was a circular chamber dominated by a central analysis platform. Holographic displays covered the walls, showing data streams Zena couldn't begin to comprehend. Rhett gestured to the platform. Place it there. The containment field will let us study it safely. Zena removed the crystal from her suit pocket. It pulsed more intensely now, its patterns shifting faster. As she approached the platform, the crystal suddenly grew warm, almost hot. Wait, she started to say, but it was too late. The crystal flared with brilliant light, and every screen in the lab came alive with cascading symbols. The same patterns from the derelict ship now filled the room, swirling around them like a digital storm. Remarkable. Rhett breathed, his fingers dancing over control panels. It's not just data storage, it's a quantum matrix. The patterns are a language, but they're also programming. The crystal is rewriting itself, adapting to our technology. That's not concerning at all, Zena muttered, her hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. What's it doing? Before Rhett could answer, a holographic figure materialized in the center of the lab. It was humanoid but clearly artificial, its form composed of the same flowing patterns as the crystal. Inheritor recognized. It spoke, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. Emergency protocol fully activated. Time remaining until convergence, 72 hours. Convergence, Zena demanded. What convergence? The figure turned to her, its patterns shifting to mirror her stance. The great cycle approaches completion. The hegemony seeks what they cannot understand. Their actions will trigger the return, unless prevented. The return of what? Rhett asked, recording everything. Who created you? We are the echo of those who came before. We watched countless civilizations rise and fall, each believing they were the first, each falling to the same fate. The crystal you carry is one of many keys scattered across the galaxy. A test and a warning. The ship shuddered as something impacted their shields. Hegemony vessels approaching. The ship's eye warned. They've detected the energy surge. The holographic figure seemed to grow more urgent. The hegemony follows the path of the destroyers. They seek power without understanding its cost. The convergence cannot be allowed to proceed as before. The cycle must be broken. Zena felt the crystal pulse in sync with the figure's words. You still haven't explained what this convergence is, or what we're supposed to do about it. The keys were scattered to prevent any one force from controlling the gateway. The hegemony has found others, but they cannot activate them. Only the chosen, the inheritors, can unlock their true purpose. More impacts rocked the ship. Shields at 60%. The AI reported. Show me, Zena demanded. Show me what we're dealing with. The holographic display shifted, showing a map of the galaxy. Points of light marked the location of other crystals, and at the galaxy's core, something massive pulsed with the same energy as the crystal. The gateway was sealed to protect all life in this galaxy, the figure explained. The destroyers would use it to remake reality itself. The hegemony follows their footsteps, believing they can control what cannot be controlled. That's why you were tracking them, Zena said to Rhett. You knew about the gateway. Rhett nodded grimly. I found references in ancient ruins, but I never imagined. The convergence must be when the gateway becomes active again. Correct, the figure confirmed. The cycle brings the gateway into alignment. The hegemony believes they can use it to reshape the galaxy in their image. They cannot comprehend that such actions have destroyed countless civilizations before them. Another impact, harder this time. Shields at 40%. Multiple ships on approach vector. The holographic figure turned to Zena. You were chosen because you understand balance. The crystal responded to your nature, not your ambitions. Now you must choose. Run and hide, letting the cycle continue, or stand and fight, giving this galaxy a chance to break free. Zena looked at the crystal, then at the tactical display showing the approaching hegemony ships. She had started this job looking for salvage, but now she held the key to something far greater. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like physical force. If we fight, she said slowly, what exactly are we fighting for? A future, the figure replied, its patterns swirling faster, one where the next civilization doesn't repeat the mistakes of the past. But the choice must be yours, freely made. Another hit rocked the ship. The decision time was running out, and the fate of more than just their own lives hung in the balance. The scholar's gambit shuddered under another barrage. Zena grabbed a console for support, her mind racing through possibilities. The crystal pulsed in her hand, its patterns moving faster as if sensing her tension. We need to make a decision, Rhett said, his fingers dancing across control panels. The shields won't hold much longer. Your vessel possesses jump capability, the holographic figure interjected. The crystal can guide you to safety, but you must decide quickly. Zena studied the tactical display. 5 hegemony ships had them surrounded, their weapons charged. A 6th larger vessel was emerging from jump space, a dreadnought, by its signature. They were seriously outgunned. Fine, she said. We fight. But we do this smart. Can this crystal do more than just light up and talk? The holographic figure's patterns shifted, forming complex geometric shapes. The crystal contains more than information. It is a key, a weapon, and a shield. But using it has consequences. Each activation draws attention. The hegemony is not the only force that would seek to control it. More mysterious threats. Perfect. Zena turned to Rhett. Your ship, what can it do? The Scholar's Gambit was designed for research, but I've made modifications. Advanced stealth systems, experimental shields. And he hesitated, then pressed a sequence on his console. A hidden panel opened, revealing a crystalline structure similar to the one they'd found on the derelict. I salvaged this from another site. Never got it working, but maybe with your crystal. The ship rocked again. Shields at 25%, the AI warned. Hull breach imminent on decks 3 through 5. Zena didn't hesitate. She pressed the crystal against Rhett's salvage technology. The reaction was immediate. Both crystals blazed with light, their patterns synchronizing. Energy coursed through the ship's systems, and the holographic figure expanded, its form filling the laboratory. Interface established. Accessing defensive protocols. The Scholar's Gambit's engines hummed with new power. On the tactical display, energy readings spiked off the charts. The pursuing hegemony ships suddenly backed off, their sensors no doubt warning them of the unprecedented power surge. This is Commander Voss of the hegemony dreadnought Inexorable. A new voice crackled over the comms. You possess restricted technology. Surrender now, and you may yet survive this encounter. They're powering up their main weapons, Rhett reported. That dreadnought carries enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The holographic figure turned to Zena. The crystal can protect us, but using it will reveal our position to others. The choice remains yours. Zena had spent her life avoiding commitment, staying neutral in the grand conflicts that shaped the galaxy. But neutrality was no longer an option. She placed her hand on the crystal interface, feeling the energy pulse through her. Commander Voss, she broadcast back, here's my surrender. She activated the crystal's power. The Scholar's Gambit transformed, its hull becoming covered in the same flowing patterns they'd seen on the derelict. The ship's conventional weapons retracted, replaced by crystalline structures that hummed with ancient power. The hegemony ships opened fire, their energy weapons and mass drivers converging on their position. But the shots never landed. The patterns on the hull flared, creating a barrier of pure energy that absorbed the assault. Impossible, Voss's voice crackled. All ships, concentrate fire. The crystal's showing me coordinates, Zena said, her mind filling with information. Some kind of facility, hidden in the void between systems. That's where we need to go. The archive, the holographic figure confirmed, where the truth of the cycle is preserved. But reaching it will not be easy. The hegemony will pursue, and others will soon join the hunt. More ships were arriving, not just hegemony vessels, but others of unknown design. The crystal's power had drawn attention, just as the figure had warned. The Scholar's Gambit's sensors detected energy signatures unlike anything in their database. Multiple vessels emerging from jump space, the AI reported. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures match crystal technology. They're like the derelict, Rhett realized, studying the readings. Other ships left behind by the ancients, but are they here to help or hunt? The new arrivals took up attack positions, their intentions unclear. The crystal pulsed faster, its patterns becoming more complex. Through her connection to it, Zena felt something vast and ancient stirring, awareness spreading across the galaxy as more dormant technology awakened. The awakening spreads, the holographic figure said. The crystal's activation has triggered others. The game board is set. Now the true conflict begins. What exactly are we awakening? Zena demanded, watching as more mysterious ships appeared on their sensors. Those who sleep, those who wait, those who will either aid our cause or destroy us, depending on their own interpretation of their duty. The ancients did not leave a single guardian, but many. Some believe the cycle must continue. others seek to break it. The hegemony dreadnought launched fighters, while the mysterious vessels maintained their positions, observing. They were trapped between multiple forces, each with their own agenda. The archive coordinates, Zena said, making her decision. How fast can we get there? With the crystal's power. Minutes. But the journey will not go uncontested. Good. Zena's hands flew over the controls, plotting a course. Because I'm tired of running. Let's see what this technology can really do. The Scholar's Gambit's engines flared with crystal energy, preparing to jump. Around them, the gathered ships, hegemony and ancient alike, moved to intercept. The game board was indeed set, and the next move would determine not just their fate, but potentially that of the entire galaxy. The crystal pulsed one final time, and the void opened before them, offering a path to answers or oblivion. The jump through crystal-enhanced space was unlike anything Zena had experienced. Reality twisted around the Scholar's Gambit, the void between stars illuminated by streams of flowing patterns similar to those on the crystal. Through their wake, she could see their pursuers following, both hegemony ships and the mysterious ancient vessels. The archive is ahead, Rhett reported, his voice tense. But we've got company waiting for us. The ship emerged from jump space into a region of absolute darkness. No stars shone here, no natural light penetrated this void. But against this perfect black, a structure pulsed with familiar crystalline energy. The archive, a massive installation that defied conventional architecture. It spiraled through space like a frozen wave, its surface covered in the same patterns they'd seen before. Multiple ships detected in defensive formation around the archive. The AI announced. Configuration matches both hegemony and unknown vessels. They've been fighting over this place, Rhett realized, studying the sensor data. The hegemony found it but couldn't get in. These other ships have been protecting it. The holographic figure materialized beside them. The archive holds the complete record of the cycle, every civilization that rose and fell, every attempt to break the pattern. The hegemony believes they can use this knowledge to control the gateway. They cannot comprehend that this understanding is what destroys each civilization that obtains it. Then why show us the way here? Zena demanded, watching as more ships emerged from jump space behind them. Why risk letting anyone access it? Because the cycle must end. But ending it requires understanding why it begins. You were chosen as inheritor not to repeat the past, but to learn from it. The Scholar's Gambit shuddered as weapons fire erupted around them. The hegemony fleet had engaged the Guardian vessels, turning the void into a storm of energy weapons and crystal tech attacks. Their ship was caught in the middle, protected by their own crystal's power, but trapped between the warring forces. The archive's docking protocols are responding to the crystal, Rhett reported. We can get inside, but we'll be vulnerable during docking. Zena studied the tactical display. The battle was intensifying, but she noticed something in the pattern of the Guardian ship's movements. They weren't just defending the archive, they were maintaining a specific formation. They're not just fighting, she realized. They're building energy for something. Look at the power readings. The holographic figure's patterns shifted rapidly. The Guardians prepare the archive's final protocol. If they succeed, all knowledge within will be destroyed to prevent its misuse. Generations of history, the key to breaking the cycle, lost forever. How long do we have? Minutes. The decision point approaches. Commander Voss's voice crackled over the comms. This is your last warning. The archive's secrets belong to the hegemony. Surrender the crystal, or be destroyed with these relics. Zena looked at the crystal, its patterns now moving in perfect sync with her heartbeat. Since finding it, she'd been reacting to events, letting others dictate the stakes. But she was done running. Done letting ancient programs and power-hungry empires decide the future. Rhett, plot a course through that battle. Get us to the archive's main dock, and give me ship-wide comms. You have a plan. Something like that. She activated the comms. This is Xena Blackwood. To all ships engaged in this battle, hegemony, guardians, and anyone else listening, you're all fighting over something you don't understand. The archive isn't a weapon or a prize. It's a lesson, one that's been repeated too many times. She placed her hand on the crystal interface, feeling its power surge through her. The holographic figure watched, its patterns shifting in anticipation. The cycle continues because every civilization that reaches this point makes the same choice. They choose power over understanding. They choose control over cooperation. Not this time. Through her connection to the crystal, she could feel the archive's systems responding, recognizing her as inheritor. The Guardian ship's energy buildup was reaching critical levels. "I'm going to open the archive," she announced. "Not to one faction, but to all. Every record, every lesson, every failure and success. Because the only way to break this cycle is to learn from every mistake that led to it." "You can't," Voss shouted. "That knowledge belongs to the hegemony." "Knowledge belongs to everyone," Xena replied. "Or it belongs to no one." She activated the crystal's full power. Energy coursed through the scholar's gamut and into the archive. The structure's patterns blazed to life, and data began streaming to every ship in range, hegemony and guardian alike. The effect was immediate. The battle stopped as crews were confronted with the full history of the cycle. Every civilization's rise, their discovery of the gateway, their attempts to control it, and their inevitable fall. Thousands of species, millions of years, all following the same pattern. But more importantly, they saw the alternatives. The paths not taken, the opportunities missed. The crystal wasn't just a key or a weapon. It was a chance to choose differently. "The cycle can be broken," the holographic figure said, its form expanding to fill the bridge. "But only when all understand the cost of continuing it." The Guardian ships powered down their weapons, their energy buildup dissipating. The hegemony fleet hung motionless, their crews absorbing centuries of accumulated knowledge. Xena felt the crystal's power ease, its patterns settling into a steady rhythm. "What happens now?" "That depends on what they learn from this moment," the figure replied. "The choice is no longer yours alone. You have given them understanding. What they do with it will determine if this cycle is truly the last." The archive pulsed with renewed energy, no longer a tomb of forgotten knowledge, but a beacon of shared wisdom. The crystal in Xena's hand had changed too. Its patterns now moved with purpose, no longer a warning but a guide. "The gateway remains sealed," the figure continued. "But perhaps now, when the time comes to face it, this galaxy will be ready, not to control it, but to understand it. The true purpose of power is not domination, but illumination." Xena looked out at the assembled ships, former enemies now united in understanding. She had started this journey as a salvager looking for profit. She would end it as something else. Not a chosen one or a savior, but simply someone who chose to share knowledge rather than hoard it. The crystal pulsed one final time, and in that pulse was a promise. The cycle could be broken, not through force or control, but through the simplest and most difficult of human traits, the willingness to learn from the past rather than repeat it. In the void between stars, surrounded by the legacy of countless civilizations, a new cycle began, not of destruction and rebirth, but of understanding and growth. The archive stood as testament not to what was lost, but to what could be gained when knowledge was shared rather than fought over. The true power, Xena realized, had never been in the crystal or the archive. It was in the choice to break the patterns that had defined the galaxy for so long. And that choice would echo through the stars, offering hope to generations yet to come.